James Acaster, Stuart Lee, and Frankie Boyle. What do they have in common?
They're all comedians.
Yeah, this is like one of those Mock the Week. We can do that. What do they have in common? And we all do the comedy thing. They all hate Ricky Gervais.
Oh, they all hate Ricky Gervais
publicly. Why is that?
Because the trans stuff.
I think they've all come out separately about him. You must have heard some of that
for different reasons.
I think James
Acaster is definitely because this is the thing. Like James Acaster, Frankie Boyle, and Stuart Lee, all very safe opinions, just safe comedy. Yeah. Just like, oh, what's acceptable? What's within the boundaries of your average sort of Guardian reader? Yeah. And then they do stuff in that. Some of it's really good. Man, Frankie Boyle used to like really go over the lines, and he was really funny. Stuart Lee's really funny, very skilled comedian. James Acaster, very, very funny. But it's weird to see them hating on Ricky Gervais. Actually, you know what? I feel really bad. I slagged off Ricky Gervais back in the day.
Did you?
Yeah, man. I've never feel bad about it because, like, when I wrote the transphobic material that got me banned from the Perth Fringe in Australia, or from my venue at the Perth Fringe, I genuinely wrote it because I wanted to talk about trans stuff, but not make it transphobic. I wasn't trying to be transphobic. Obviously, people found it transphobic, but it wasn't intended to be transphobic. And I said, and like somebody phoned me up from like a newspaper or whatever and said, why were you talking about it? I was like, I wasn't trying to be transphobic. I was like, I saw something by Ricky Gervais that seemed a bit like transphobic, and I was like, doing stuff that wasn't. Obviously, Ricky Gervais, like when I said that, I wasn't saying he's been transphobic and that's bad. What I meant was he's been transphobic and that's good. It's funny.
Was that before you'd been like peaked then?
Peaked?
As in like red-pilled about trans, as in...
Yeah, it was before the whole like going into schools and, I think, when they go for the kids, it's a different thing. I'm happy for adults to, do whatever they want with their bodies. But when they go for the kids, and when you've got a whole like system, pretty much the entirety of academia and schooling, it's all run by these sort of lefty people who, they'd rather be a Guardian journalist or a Labour politician, but they're in a school, so they're still trying to change the world, but they're doing it via the medium of trans and kids or whatever. And, I'm just like, man, just leave the kids alone. Just, if the kids grow up and decide they want to be trans. Also, I think, part of the issue is you got like people who genuinely are trans that are then, looking at other people and saying, well, this worked for me. This will work for you too. Yeah. And it's like, that's a hammer looking for a nail, if you know what I mean.
Some people would say that there isn't anything that it genuinely is trans.
Yeah, but I think some people, I know people who like live happy lives as transgender people.
Sure.
So, and also you wouldn't even know. Maybe a couple of them you could tell, but you know what I mean.
We've had a brief break because the microphone stand broke. That's why you'll notice Leo's one looks slightly different because he smashed it. He didn't smash it. So what's it like? Okay, we were talking about comedians, we were talking about Ricky Gervais and all of that. Yeah. What's it like for you on the circuit and all of that? And you mentioned earlier as well that you're sort of persona non grata. What's it feel like?
No, I wouldn't say I'm persona non grata. There's a lot. I'd say I'm persona non grata on a lot of the sort of the shit gigs, the sort of unpaid. Trendy gigs. There's this whole circuit of sort of like there's Quantum Leopard, which is they're all like, we're an inclusive space, and if you perform there, you got to sign up to this like ethos and terms of acceptance and all that sort of stuff. It's like you're getting finance on a car, you know what I mean? And then you get paid £5, which I don't think even the most ardent feminist is like heating their home with £5. And also, the guy who runs it is he's a total woke fanny, but like he's been, he uses his position to sort of like, he's been real arsey. He gave like a female comedian a real dressing down by email when she asked for a spot. So yeah, I'm persona non grata on the crap circuit that doesn't pay. And if you go to Quantum Leopard, man, for all that, like we're an inclusive space, just about everybody's white. You know what I mean? It's like nobody.
Because who would what comedian who's black would want? Well, I went to Mothership, Joe Rogan's thing.
Well, the audience are white.
Oh, right.
Because it's only white people have got this like these hang-ups and this stick up their ass that they've got to be. I've got to do the right thing. It's like, man, just go and have a good time. Just go out and see some good comedy.
When I was at this Mothership Rogan's place, and I'm not saying that because I went to because I didn't meet Rogan, but I just went to his comedy club. All three acts were black guys,
right?
And there's an assumption, isn't there, on the other side of like, the right or the center or whatever they are, a bunch of racists and that. It's just bonkers.
Yeah.
what are they talking about?
Yeah, totally.
So you is it then in the sort of nicer circuits or the better circuits, you're not persona non grata?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I hardly gig anymore because I'm just busy with GB News. I'm busy with my YouTube stuff, and also I've got a kid now, so it's funny. Like I think Woody Allen said, the pram in the hallway is the death of comedy. And I never thought that'd be true. I thought I'd still want it, but as soon as you got a kid, you just want to stay in with the kid in the evening and play with the kid instead of going and making people. You get all the I used to, because people do comedy purely for the sort of ego validation of having a room full of people laughing.
Did Woody Allen do the kid play? Did he take that too far?
Yeah, I mean, he probably said that before he did other things and said other things.
Was accused of having done them.
Is accused of having done them by his kids, but I mean, he married his daughter, not his daughter, but like adopted daughter.
Yeah, or was it her adopted daughter
or something? Or
the adopted daughter of Mia Farrow.
Anyway, man, like as soon as if you've like given this person a birthday present when they're 7, don't marry them. That's you know what I mean. Like how easy. Like you're Woody Allen, you get any woman in the world. No, I mean like,
well,
but, you can at least get a woman who's not been raised in your house.
He could have got a lot of women, couldn't he? Probably. You're right. I mean, he didn't have the looks, but he could have got
women. Have got the only standard women have got. The only standards they've got is money and fame. Like look at Jack Black, one of the most disgusting looking humans in the world.
He was slimmer at one point.
Yeah, before he was famous.
Yeah.
Now he's famous. He doesn't need to be. Look at all these darts players. As soon as they're the star of darts, they're getting all the poon. They don't need to watch their weight anymore. So so I'm still I still get booked. I still go and do some gigs sometimes. I mean, most promoters, especially outside London, they just care. Like if you can close a room, then there's a premium on that. There's not many comedians who can actually do. There's a lot of comedians who can do 15 minutes in the middle and sort of everybody will be okay with it. But to actually properly kill and close a show and do 40 minutes and be really funny and stuff, there's not that many people. But I mean, it's like a muscle. You got to keep exercising. And also all the gigs I seem to do now are strange gigs. Like I went or unusual gigs. Like I went to Australia to do stand-up at CPAC Australia, so like a political conference. That was one of my last gigs, and I did a sort of a health club, and I did open for Dominic Frisby. So these aren't sort of normal shows. It's, you don't have to make stuff as accessible. You can go and you can talk about politics and stuff, and people understand what you're talking about. Whereas if you're at the Comedy Store or whatever. Actually, the Comedy Store don't book me anymore. They're one of the ones that that properly unbooked me. Like took me off the mail outs for all the gigs and stuff. That was that it kind of hurt because you work so hard to get to the stage where you're closing weekend shows at the Comedy Store. And I mean, it certainly used to be. It's not anymore, but it certainly used to be the sort of high watermark, the sort of the gold standard for comedy. If you said you were closing Saturdays at the Comedy Store, other promoters would automatically put you on because you're good enough.
What does closing mean in that?
So the headline. I mean, not really headlining because headlining is when your name is sort of bringing people in, but
the final act, the big
final act, yeah, final act on a lineup of. Although funnily enough, the last gig, and maybe this is fine. Maybe it's got nothing to do with wokeism or anything at all. But the last gig I did for the Comedy Store, man, I died so hard. It was just like because they do an early show and a late show. And the late show was like 1:15 or something. Everybody's drunk. There's only like 100 people in. And I'm following Andrew Ryan. He absolutely he emceed for like 20 minutes and man, did so well. Then Tom Ward went on, did 20 minutes, did so well. But by that point, they've seen just in that section, they've seen 45 minutes of comedy. They're kind of, I went out and they'd had enough, you know what I mean?
What did that feel like? And what does that look like on stage?
Oh man, when you're trying to start a lawnmower.
You're asking the wrong person.
I was doing all right. I was doing all right for like 15 minutes, and then man, it just sort of tailed, and I should have just left. I should have just been like, okay, well, thanks very much, folks. It just sort of tailed off, and then somebody said, "This guy stopped being funny about 5 minutes ago."
Oh no!
And I said, like, listen, you've seen 45 minutes of comedy. You've seen you've had too much comedy. Yeah. You see, just in this section. Then there's the sections before. So you've just seen too much comedy. It's like, look, this guy's falling asleep because he's drunk. You're all drunk. You're not even comedy fans.
Did you say all this?
You've come into the yeah, no, like I sort of The thing is, like, when you're on stage, you never know really what you're going to say. But obviously, man, the Comedy Store is one of those places where they actually watch you with a clipboard and, whereas other places, they're maybe a bit more lenient. So maybe they don't book me because I'm terrible at comedy sometimes. Like, maybe that's why they don't book me.
What did it feel like? So you said you didn't feel good. How did you realise? Or was it just a gradual realisation of not booking you?
Yeah, I mean, it was well, the thing is, they were still booking me for, they had a sort of topical show, The Cutting Edge, which is a sort of, they've been doing it for like 30 years or something. It was the precursor. It was a live show that became Mock the Week. Mock the Week kind of stole it. It was a really fun show to do, lots of improvisation, topical stuff. Really, really great. And obviously, there's not many comedians who sort of follow politics, so can improvise. So there weren't that many comedians who could do it. So I was still doing that. And then over lockdown, I was doing their Comedy Store podcast. But then, after lockdown, thing is, during lockdown, all this stuff happened. Like, there was the whole Me Too movement in comedy. Everybody got called out for, and a lot of it was just like I was put on a list because apparently my Facebook post made female comedians feel uncomfortable or some bullshit. It's like all these lists, and that list was done in Comic Sans, and it's like you can't do a list of like, sexual like harassment or whatever in Comic Sans.